From the last episode, we made a table with a chair and some boxes on the table along with the floor, and we also put them into collections. So in edit mode, let's make things a little better, shall we? Make things a little fancier. So let's first hide the floor. Let's hide the chair, let's hide the boxes, and just leave the table here. If you'd like to isolate an object and work on it, you can slash forward. It's the forward slash, the same button as the question mark, to isolate that object. And to bring it back, you forward slash again. Alternatively, you can decide to selectively hide other objects by pressing H. And if you notice, these objects are now hidden. You can bring them back by clicking on the eyeball icon. Alternatively, you can bring it back with Alt-H. That's the shortcut key. So let's work on one object at a time. Let's say I want the top side of this table leg to look a little more artistic. Maybe I'll add another element on the bottom of the table leg. This is what I like to do. Let's start with simple shapes. So I added a circle. I'm bringing the circle over here, making the circle a little smaller, and to focus on the circle. Now for block out, I think I like to make a little round shape for the bottom of the table leg. We're going to go into edit mode to change the geometry within. So in edit mode, you can select your vertices, your edges. You see now you're selecting edges. Now you're selecting vertices, and 3 for faces. Now there are no faces right now, but we're going to add one. We're going to select everything around the loop, shift, alt, and left click. F to fill everything in. And now we're selecting faces. I did not realize that we're not aligned with the bottom of the table leg, so let's just select that, align this here, and align this right over here. I want to make that a little larger. Okay. Tap to go back into editing mode. When you're selecting both objects, you go into edit mode for both objects. In this case, we like to go into edit mode for just the circle. Left click to select the circle, tap to go into edit mode. Left click to select one of the vertices, Ctrl Alt left click to select the entire ring, and E to extrude. You can scale this up, you can rotate this, which we don't really want to, or you can move it if you'd like. You see our previous transformations carry over to edit mode as well. You know, I'm going to switch back to face select, so it's easier to select the entire face instead of just selecting a vertice and then loop selecting. So for me, I like to switch around between your vertices, edges, and your faces. Let's keep extruding. And then we're going to extrude again, maybe scale this down. Extrude again, scale it up. Alternatively, what you can do is, let's say you scale this like that. Now we have a desired location, right? We select these edges and we bevel it. Ctrl-b, that's for bevel. That's probably the second commonly used item in edit mode. Your scroll wheel determines how many segments you have in your bevel. So if I want a very smooth bevel, I scroll up, left click to confirm. Now we have a very smooth bevel. If you'd like to add a loop in between these edges, Ctrl-r is for loop cut. Your scroll wheel determines the amount of loop cuts you like to make. In this case, I like to make one. So I click left mouse button and right mouse button to leave it at the default location. And I can either scale this up, scale this down, or perhaps I can select this entire loop. I can select this entire loop. Perhaps I want to delete it. Maybe I'll just delete the edges. Ctrl-z that. Let's dissolve edges. This way it's non-destructive. So loop select, shift, alt, left click. Let's bevel this to make it smoother. And that kind of looks a little chunky. So we're going to go back to object mode by hitting tab, center it a little bit, and scale this along the X and the Y axis so it's not as chunky. As you can see, this rectangle here is overlapping with our new form. So what we're going to do is just push this face upwards. So I selected the face by pressing 3 GZ to move this face upwards. If I like to bevel this face, Ctrl-b to bevel that. Did you notice something? The beveling is looking a little funky. The proportions are not correct. That is because we did not apply the scale and transformation of this object. This was originally a cube, so Blender still thinks that we are dealing with a cube. What we need to do now is click on this object, Ctrl-A, apply. In our case, since we did not rotate it, we just applied the scale. So now Blender understands that this is now a rectangle. Our bevel operations or our sculpting operations are now proportional to the proportions of this new dimension of the object. As you can see now, if we bevel it, we have a very even 45-degree bevel on our object. And I like to center this. So Shift-Z, I believe, is X-ray mode in object mode. And I like to center the round pillar onto this rectangle here. Just eyeball it, left click, and we have somewhat of the leg of a table. There's another tool I like to show you guys. It is the Inset tool. Now you can inset one face only, or you can inset multiple faces like so. So we're going to select the loop around the top of this loop cut that I made earlier. Shift, Ctrl-R for the loop cut, remember? So since I already made the loop cut, we're going to select these rectangles and let's inset them together. So I to inset and left click to confirm. As you see, they are connected together. There are different ways we can inset everything. Perhaps we need to try to change our parameters. So it looks like we need to enable individual inset. So let's inset them again. And now they are insetting on the individual faces. So now that's selected. After your inset, it's pretty common to extrude things. So if you want to extrude every one of these boxes inwards or outwards, you go ahead and click Alt-E. This is the shortcut for extrude menu, drop down. And we like to just select extrude faces along normals, meaning we're extruding along where the faces are facing. So in this case, we like to make it go inwards a little bit. Actually, this doesn't look half bad. This doesn't look bad either. Here's what I like to try. Maybe I like to make this entire section up here a little bigger than the rest of this. So I'm going to try making a loop cut here. Let's see, horizontally, move this up. Maybe I'll make another loop cut here, and I'll select this area. And I'll make this smaller on the X and the Y plane. Now we have a little contrast between the bottom and the top. And slash to bring everything back. Whoops, looks like we hit everything, so Alt-H to bring everything back. And for us to duplicate this leg to everything else, we can do a manual duplication for now since things are not too complicated. But today's episode, we just want to familiarize ourselves with our editing mode operations, your inset, your extrude, your bevel, and play around with your personal design for your table legs, and make sure you remember to apply your scale. Since we scaled this from a regular cube, we want to make sure our bevel operations are proportional to the mesh that we're working with. So before you bevel something that you scaled one direction or another, just apply the scale, or if you rotated everything, just apply the rotation and scale. So something to keep in mind. And if you'd like to combine these two objects together, just click both of them and Ctrl J to join them. Now they are one object. So on your own, I like you to model the rest. Basically, just duplicate this to the rest of the table legs. So I'm going to delete everything, and I'm going to duplicate these out here so we have a more elegant table. That's it for today's episode. Next episode, let's dive into a little more details about parenting, how we, if you want to move the whole table, parenting is very important because you don't want to move one thing at a time. You like to move everything together. So now we're moving the whole table as a whole. So a little more goes into it, like parenting, object origins, and a few other things that's important. Stay tuned.